Good morning, friends. Today, let's discuss a topic which has arisen in Indian Express Explained, and it's the topic headline is Accessing COVID Reinfection Risks for the Young. Simply, we can say study shows young COVID survivors can get reinfected. So, let's head on. A past COVID 19 infection does not completely protect against reinfection in young people, according to a new observational study published in the Lancet Respiratory Medicine. The study was among more than 3,000 healthy members of the US Marine Corps, most of whom were in the age group of 18 to 20. Of the 2,346 Marines followed long enough for this analysis of reinfection rate, 189 were seropositivity, meaning having or being a positive serum reaction, especially in a test for the presence of an antibody, and 2,247 were seronegative. Seronegative meaning giving a negative result in a test of blood serum. So, at the start of the study, between May and November 2020, around 10% of the participants who were previously infected with SARS-CoV-2, 19 out of 189 became reinfected, compared with new infections in 50%, that is 1079 out of 2247 of participants who had not previously been infected. Implications beyond cohort, that means a group of individuals having a statistical factor such as age or class membership in common in a demographic study. The author says that despite previous infection and the presence of antibodies, vaccination is still necessary to boost immune responses, prevent reinfection, reduce transmission, and that young people should take up the vaccine wherever possible. Although the study was in young, fit, mostly male Marine recruits, the authors believe that the risk of reinfection found in their study will apply to many young people, but that the exact rates of reinfection will not be applicable elsewhere. This is owing to the crowded living conditions on a military base and close personal contact required for basic training, like contributing to a higher overall infection rate than seen elsewhere. For example, in a study of 4 million people in Denmark also found that the risk of reinfection was 5 times higher in people who had not before had COVID-19. Only 0.65% of people who had COVID-19 during Denmark's first wave tested positive, again during the second wave, compared with 3.3% of people who tested positive after initially being negative. In addition, a preprint study including British healthcare workers found that those who had been not previously infected had a 5 times higher risk of infected than people who had a past infection. Antibodies and viral load. To understand why reinfection occurred in the study of Marine recruits, the author studied the reinfected and not infected participants' antibodies responses. They found that among the seropositive group, participants who became reinfected had lower antibody levels against the SARS-CoV-2 virus than those who did not become reinfected. In addition, the seropositive group neutralizing antibodies were less common. Comparing new infections between seropositive and seronegative participants, The authors found that viral load in reinfected seropositive recruits was on average only 10 times lower than the infected seronegative participants, which could mean that some reinfected individuals could still have a capacity to transmit infection. But the authors note that this will need further investigation. Thank you.